Today we're going to talk about ectoplasm. Ectoplasm. So essentially ectoplasm is spiritual goo, and it's disgusting. Ectoplasm. 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 It's the slime in Ghostbusters, and for the Victorians it was proof that the spirits were speaking to and that the medium was affecting change. The word ectoplasm is Greek. It comes from ecto, which is outside, and plasm, which is a molded substance. It was described as being doughy or ropey or slimy. There were lots of interesting and disgusting ways to fake ectoplasm.
Some of the tricks used to create ectoplasm usually involved cheesecloth or muslin, which is a very thin material, and they would dip it in glue or egg whites or sometimes potato starch. They would chew it up and stick it in the back of their mouth or swallow it and then regurgitate it. Because nothing says I'm a spirit back from the land of the dead like chewed up cheesecloth.
Most of the time it was something that had to come out of their body so they could stick it up their nose or in their ear. A medium named Einar Nielsen, I can't even say it. Okay. A medium named Einar Nielsen was caught hiding ectoplasm up his bum. I don't know what to say to that. Some mediums would also hide a little rubber bladder inside their cheek and use it to blow ectoplasm out at people in seance, which is gross. Just, if I'm going to a seance and I want to talk to my dead relative, I'm kind of hoping they're not spitting on me. A lot of women would hide things under their petticoats because that was a really safe place where gentlemen would not look. One medium actually created a little sort of half child out of milky white blobby ectoplasm and a face cut out of a magazine. She taped it to a stick and stuck it on the inside of her petticoats, and then during the sitting it would pop its head out around the table.
That's a really weird form of entertainment, I'm just saying.
Spirit hands were really popular as well. So essentially it's the same as ectoplasm but in the shape of a hand. And in a lot of photographs it looks ridiculous to us now because they're literally holding the end of a rubber glove full of paraffin wax and cold water to mold it between their teeth. It was a shadowy room. I don't know if there was gaslighting. Maybe they were feeling a little woozy in the head.
And photography is new, so you really do believe what you see. Kind of like the internet, we should know better. Then the spirit hand is a little bit less weird. Maybe. I don't know, I think it's still weird. It's a spirit hand. Why would a medium regurgitate just one hand? Are there a lot of spirits walking around with just one arm for no particular reason? I don't know. It's weird.
Or you would make a fake hand so that the person next to you thinks that they're holding your hand, but actually you have a free one to do all sorts of nefarious deeds with.
My real question is the person holding the plaster hand, how do you not know that's fake?
I've also read somewhere that they would use balloons, I guess in the early 20th, because I don't think they had balloons in Victorian age. They would use balloons and paint a face on it and then let it float through the dark room during a seance, and it would look like a spirit was arriving. Touching the ectoplasm was also believed to harm the medium, so it was done as little as possible, which again makes it that much easier to perpetrate a hoax if you're using paper or muslin or chewed up whatever it is you're chewing up. If the investigator's not allowed to touch it because it'll hurt you, that lends you a little bit of protection. And also photography was a big part of why these hoaxes worked. Photography at this time was fairly new, so it was something scientific, but it was also something mysterious. And it was used to take pictures of these spirits and mediums and spirit guides and ectoplasm. And because it was photography, it lent another layer of sort of mystique to it.
So why were scientists so interested in ectoplasm? Why were they researching it and believing it so much that they were tricked as often as anybody else? In the mid-1800s, something called plasm was discovered, and that is a gelatinous substance in all plant and animal cell, and it was believed to be the stuff of life. And because this was a scientific discovery, it was reasonable to theorize that this gelatinous substance, which is in everything, could be secreted by a medium when they were speaking to a spirit. So it wasn't just metaphysical, it was biological. It's not a coincidence that so much of this was happening in the late 1800s, because in the Victorian age, spiritualism was massive. It was its heyday. Seances were super common. They were done in great halls and dining rooms. Automatic writing, planchettes, the Ouija board was invented in the late 1800s. It was known as a spirit board or talking board. So this was the time for seances. This was the time for ectoplasm. It also is important to note that for women in the Victorian age, being a medium was actually one of the few respectable ways you could earn money. Women were thought to be more intuitive and psychic, so it was one extra way in a time that was extremely restrictive that they could sort of let loose. They could take their hair down, they could take their corset off, and flounce around a seance room and pretend to be a spirit guide. More importantly, they could make enough money to feed themselves.
So the general populace, when they go to a seance, want to speak to a dead loved one. They want this to be true. They want it to be real, and so they might kind of look the other way when it's obviously a bunch of chewed up newspaper. I have had experiences with mediums that can't really be explained. So some people will tell you that that is a trick of reading your body language or mind reading, but that's just as cool. I don't actually believe that's what it is necessarily, but that's pretty cool regardless. So in conclusion, ectoplasm equals ew. Bye.